Oh, Bethesda, seeker of my heart, winner of my affection. It's not always like that, though. I mean, I can't say me and Bethesda have a complicated relationship because it's mostly love. It's mostly a healthy relationship. I can't say it's a love-hate relationship because it's mostly love than hate. And just like with everything in life, right? You know, you're going to have your pros and your cons. There's no way that you can be married to someone for years and not have an argument or a disagreement or even a separation, if it's brief or if it's extended, whatever the case may be. That's why I'm very distrustful and I'm very suspicious of people who have been in relationships for a long time and never argue, always get along. I always think like there's some sort of a hidden problem there. Either they're lying straight up because they want to keep appearances, or if they genuinely aren't arguing with each other, they're probably both like passive aggressive, which is super unhealthy, right? To not voice their concerns out of fear for of argument, or fear of some sort of altercation or confrontation. What I'm saying is, I love Bethesda still, even in 2023, where it's much harder to like them than it was back then. Let's take a sip of this coffee. So, what I mean by that is, I can't call myself the most hardcore Bethesda fan because I jumped on the bandwagon Oblivion. So this had to be Elder Scrolls Oblivion. This was 2006, 2000, yeah, like 2006. So I mean, that's kind of a lengthy amount of time to be a fan. So I guess I could call myself call myself a adequate Bethesda fan, but I wouldn't say hardcore because there's been people who have been playing the Elder Scrolls since Redguard and Battlespire and Arena and you know around that era. I'd never heard of Bethesda. I've never heard of Fallout until Fallout 3. And I mean, just playing Oblivion, because that's the game that turned me on. I mean, I probably said the story like 40 times already. But Oblivion was a game that when I originally played it, I hated it and that's from personal preferences because I just never really been into fantasy, never really been into orcs or trolls or wizards or, I always like the medieval setting of shit. Like I like Hercules, the series with Kevin Sorbo. I love those shows with Xena and anything that was medieval was pretty cool. But I never was into fantasy until Oblivion. Oblivion was, I still say to this day, like if someone were to ask me what's the best game I ever played in my life, I would say it is split between two games and both are by Bethesda. One is The Elder Scrolls Oblivion and the other is Fallout 3. The vanilla version of Fallout 3. Fallout Vegas, New Vegas was dope too, but New Vegas was built on the engine of Fallout 3. So it's like the way I see Vegas as much of a masterpiece as New Vegas is, in my world, the way I see it is like New Vegas is a derivative of Fallout 3. So Fallout 3 is the daddy, New Vegas is the son or daughter. And so that's why I always credit the vanilla version of Fallout 3 as even as one of the greatest games I've ever played. Even the DLC, Operation Anchorage and what was the other? I forgot the other DLCs for it. So it's they're in a weird position because right before Starfield, Redfall was released, which I'm still meaning to play because I have to see why people made this game like universally panned, right? Like it seems like everyone hates Redfall. Now, maybe they have a valid reason why, but I've been here before. And what I mean by that is like I've been in a situation where I'm in the middle of a room while everyone else is screaming, they hate this, they hate this, they hate this, and then I'm looking at what they're hating and it doesn't match the emotion. I'm like, okay, this isn't what you're hating is not the greatest I see, but what's up with this outrage? And it doesn't help that in today's culture, in today's world, it's you get rewarded for being outraged or at least playing like you're outraged. Everything is offensive nowadays. And that's more of the political climate than the developers having say in their games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to follow whatever the political climate currently is, and this is nothing new, right? Which leads me to Starfield, right? It's the newest jaunt, right? Now, to wrap up quickly with Redfall, I have not even never tried it, so I can't comment on it, but I will. That might just be my next game. I'm juggling games right now. I'm playing Grounded by Obsidian, which I'm enjoying a lot with a couple friends or whatever. And man, I still want to play the Cyberpunk expansion, Phantom Liberty. I got a lot of shit that's just on the list, but I think I might just throw in Redfall with some friends after Grounded because it seems like we're pretty far into the game and pretty soon we'll be finishing it. But I want to just really test it out to see if this outrage is valid, because it's just it sucks that sorry if I'm gonna keep taking pauses frequently. I don't want my coffee to turn cold. Uh, this fake outrage has been so prevalent in our society today that it's like you get rewarded for it, right? Like for saying savage comments, right? Like you'll go online, you'll see a video, and then you'll see somebody just say some really highly disrespectful, distasteful shit, and they get rewarded for it. Their comments get liked, and everyone's laughing because, they're just saying some really mean shit. And look, I'm guilty of this. I'm no angel. There's been plenty of times where I've seen a video just to race to the comments, just to see if they, you know, just to see if they saw what I saw or if they have the same sentiments that I have. Like I'll see someone doing like a silly dance or someone getting hit in the head with a coffee can or some whatever the fuck is going on in social media, and I'll look at the guy who got hit or something. I'll be like, oh, that guy looks like Mr. Bean or something. I'll be like, I wonder if anyone else feels like that. And I'll go to the comments, and sure enough, there's going to be one person saying something funny about Mr. Bean or whatever. I'm guilty of this, but I do believe that there is a tasteful way to do things and a distasteful way to do things. It's that simple. It's just that simple. There's some people like currently I'm going through a little situation in my job where to put it lightly, um, I'm at odds with another coworker, and it's nothing major at all. In the grand scheme of things, it really is not. There was no fight, there was no arguing. It was just this particular person likes it's a snitch, right? Everybody has a work snitch, and I'm stuck in between this place where it's like I need to work with this guy, so therefore I still have to be professional with him and talk to him about work. But in reality, I don't want to do any of that shit because I don't fucking like him. It's just that simple, right? But I got to put my personal feelings aside and be professional. When I mean be professional, some people hear that and go like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like fake like you like him? Laugh at his jokes?" And no, I'm not telling you to be friendly at all with him. I'm telling you to just be matter of factly with him and just talk to him about work. I'm not saying to talk to him about his personal life, his kids, what he does after work. Like I'm very good at being professional and cordial with people, right? I'm very good at that. I know how to separate the person from the work. Some people can't do that. They go, I'm not going to talk to that guy because I don't like that guy. Point blank, period. I think that's unprofessional personally, especially if you're working for someone else. If you're working in your own business, you're allowed to make up whatever rules you want. You don't have even have that person there. You can just fire that person because it's your business. You own this business, right? But if me and you are working for someone else, right? You have to play by their rules because it's their company. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Although that's in jeopardy today, right? Because other people's companies are getting ran over by these activists that are, claiming everything's rape. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like it seems like nowadays it just seems like if you just say, "Hey, you're pretty" to a woman, that's considered like damn near rape. I'm not even joking. I'm pretty sure I even read some articles. I can't recall them right now, which makes me look like I'm fucking lying. But I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere I remember reading this article about like this. Oh, somebody was saying that this particular video game developer might have been Blizzard. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But they were saying that this dude is a rapist and he was creepy, and I was like, damn, what is he doing? What is this man doing that he's got so many complaints? And then I got to the nitty gritty of it, and it turns out that like this dude, whoever he was, and whatever company he worked for, but I remember it was a video game company. He wasn't really raping nobody. He was just calling girls pretty or something like that. And is that creepy? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Can it be distasteful? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But did he physically like what is rape? What rape are you talking about? In what world is rape like you just saying calling a girl pretty? Like you can't call someone a rapist for that. That's you're really stretching that word out. You know what I mean? Like so I don't know. So moving on, because how the hell did we get from sexual stuff to Bethesda? What I'm saying is that we do live in this society right now. We live in this climate that's very sensitive, and believe it or not, this is nothing new for the most part. Like we have been, I'm sorry, not we, but like video game companies in particular, as well as entertainment companies in general. You know, like movie companies and movie production companies, directors, they all have to follow the current political climate. So, for example, I just found this out not so long ago. I didn't know that uh, controversies for video games, like the ESRB system, right? It's that rating system that rates a game. This game is rated for teens. This game is rated for adults. This game is rated for kids. I knew that like Mortal Kombat was a big reason why the ESRB rating has been implemented in video games, right? Because it was like this graphic game. They had these digitized actors, and they were ripping each other's heads off. And it's like, okay, you know, parents were like, "Yo, this is fucking crazy. These are real people, like simulating. Excuse me, simulating like murder." So I can understand where the concern is coming from that. Believe it or not, from someone who's a Mortal Kombat fan. Not as much lately. I haven't been in my Mortal Kombat bag as of lately, but I'm still a fan. And even for someone who is a fan, I have to admit that, yeah, I get it. I would understand a parent's concerns if they're seeing digitized actors in their kids' video games ripping each other's heads off. Like, holy shit, what is my 11-year-old playing? You know, so I get that one. You know, then they have the Night Trap one for all my old school players out there. You know, you've got Night Trap, which like, what the fuck? They're saying that the game was sexually suggestive, and they were alluding to rape, and I'm just like, what? I'm looking at the game, I'm like, what the fuck? There's nothing. I think, what game? What? I think it's Nintendo Switch re-released Night Trap. Call me crazy. Maybe I'm bugging out, but I swear Nintendo, who's infamously been very tight in the North American market about censorship, right? They remove crosses, they remove anything that's biblical or religious, they remove anything that alludes to violence, to sex, to blood. They just strip games clean and sanitize them. They've been doing this since like the Nintendo era, maybe even earlier, right? Even they re-released Star Trap, Night Trap, right? A game that was so controversial was part of the reason the ESRB was invented, got re-released on Nintendo's platform of all people. But that goes to show you how, like, throughout time, being in an uproar, it's almost like a contagion, like a social contagion. It's like hysteria, right? It's like one person is outraged, then another person is outraged, then another person is outraged. Next thing you know, you got a room full of 50 people, only 5 are genuinely outraged, and 45 are just going along with the rest. You know, it's like exponentially spreading panic over like what are we scared about? So it turns out, and I just learned this maybe like 10 minutes ago, that censorship in video games date back to 1976, right? Where was it? I got it. Oh, fuck. God damn it. I think it was like a game. I should have fucking, I don't remember the game, but It was a game supposedly. I've never played it. I've never heard of it until I just read it 10 minutes ago. But it was like a game where you drove a race car and you ran over gremlins, right? And they would make like a sound of some sort, right? And then after you run over the gremlins, a tombstone will pop up in the place that you ran this gremlin over. Then you have to do the track all over again and avoid the tombstones of the gremlins that you just ran over in the last lap. And that was a big, like for some reason that made people unsettled in the 70s. In the 70s, bro. Like where kids were swinging from like trees and falling on their heads, and everyone was smoking weed and having raw sex with each other. You know, like in this era, that was offending the hippies. But that goes to show you how far back video game censorship, you know, goes to the 70s. And like I said, in the 90s, this is when I was alive because I remember vividly when I was a kid, a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I'm 11, 12 years old, maybe even younger. Might have been maybe 10. Mortal Kombat drops, first Mortal Kombat, everyone's is hysteria. All the kids love this Mortal Kombat. We're all going to the arcades, putting our quarters in the arcades, just wanting to do these finishing moves or whatever. And I remember going home that same day, and my mom, right, is watching Univision, right, which is like the Latino version of like CNN. And in Spanish, one of the and news anchors is saying Mortal Kombat is should be banned, and there's going to be a system in place to make sure that games that are this violent in the future get properly rated, and that way kids won't have access to them. And I remember even as a kid looking at the news and just kind of like tilting my head over, kind of like tilting my head in an angle like a confused dog, just going like thinking to myself like, oh, like I get it. You know, even as like I see why they're I get it. You know, because what made me love Mortal Kombat was the fact that you're playing a game where you're just murdering people. It sounds so fucked up. I shouldn't be so excited about that, right? Oh man, Mortal Kombat, you're murdering people. Oh, I love it. I don't mean it like that. I meant like let me give you some background. When I was a kid, I loved action movies. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Don the Dragon Wilson, Cynthia Rothrock, uh, Chuck Norris, Jim Kelly, you know, uh, all these action heroes, right? I watched Terminators, RoboCops, uh, uh, Kickboxers, Bloodsport, like all these hyper violent movies, and that shaped my fragile little brain. Because still till today, I like ultra violent video games, which I want to talk about Starfield and how it's not ultra violent compared to uh, Fallout or whatever the case may be. So I already love action movies. I already love these hyper violent movies thanks to my uncle who was showing me these realistically violent movies at such a tender age, which he definitely shouldn't have. But every time my mom went to bed, he'll go with his blockbuster videos, right? He'll have all these blockbuster videos in these clear white cases, and it'll be cassettes, VHS cassettes, right? He has a whole bunch, and he's like, Danny, your mom sleep? And I was like, yeah. It's like 9 o'clock. And he's like, come on, let's go to the basement. And we'll go to the basement because that's where he stood. And he'll just have his own room with just a shitload of VHSs. He's like, tonight we're gonna watch Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. And I'm like, yes. And I'll sit at the edge of the bed and we're both just watching fucking Cobra, Predator. And I'm just like every night I'm looking forward to just watching these movies with my uncle, which I should not have be which I should not be watching. So anyway, so finally, fast forward, here comes a video game that basically is as violent as the movies that I like. You know, Mortal Kombat, and I'm like, holy shit! I never thought I'll see a game where you can kill someone like in Predator, where you're ripping people's spines out and all that, right? So, but I understood when the reporter was saying like, "Wow, this is a problem," like I don't know why, but I understood as a kid. I was just like, "Yeah, I see why that's a problem because it's pretty shocking to see a guy kill another guy." So I understand why people are mad. Now the rest of my friends didn't understand. They were like, "No, fuck that! They're trying to ban Mortal Kombat. We're not going to be able to play Mortal Kombat anymore. This isn't right." And I'm sitting there like, just I'm like torn. I'm like I don't know what to feel. Like on one end I don't want more. I want to continue playing Mortal Kombat, And on the other end, I understand. I understand. And then it came out on consoles, right? And then the Super Nintendo version had no blood, right? So that sucked because we were like, we got the Super Nintendo version, and it was like, I don't know what that was. When you hit them in a Super Nintendo version, I don't know if it's sweat or spit. It's this weird liquid that comes out of them, but it's not red, it's not blue. It's like a weird, I don't know, like a weird pale green or something. I don't know what kind of weird ass liquid. The fatalities are still there, but they don't really have blood, and they've been altered. They've been altered. Like give me a second. Like I remember Johnny Cage doesn't punch your head off anymore. He like kicks you in the chest until you have a heart attack of some sort. It's very weird. Very weird. But then the Sega version came out and you can input a blood code. And that's what we did. ABBACAB. I think that was the code. Start, I think. Whatever. That was awesome because that's what we did all the time. You'll hear the "get over here," and that's when the code was activated, and then you'll be able to, do the fatalities with all the blood on them. That was cool. But I'm glad that eventually they got that shit handled and Mortal Kombat 2 came out and all versions have blood. Then Mortal Kombat 3 came out. And then, look at the Mortal Kombat now. What is it? Mortal Kombat 1? Jesus. It's hyper violent. I'm glad to see that still going on, because like I'm a firm believer in freedom. I know that sounds like some political shit, but complete politics aside, what I'm saying is I'm a big believer in just choice. If I believe that there should be games with porn in them, I do. I just think you should designate them to adults. Make sure that kids don't get their hands on them. But if you want to make a game, and I don't own any of these games, for just full disclosure, I don't own any porn games. Never have, and I don't think I ever will, because that porn games are like, what's that called? Hentai. I'm not into that personally. I'd rather just watch good old fashioned porn. Call me an old man. But I'm not into it, but it's cool if someone else is, and I believe they have their place. The same, and I feel the same way with ultra-violent video games like Mortal Kombat 1 or Doom or whatever the case may be. We shouldn't ban these games just because you don't like them. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't like them, then you don't buy them. But they have their place for people who do. That's what I mean by freedom. But moving on, I mean, I didn't want to make an entire video about Starfield. Because it's still kind of new. And if you're a Bethesda lover like I am, and you also understand that Bethesda's games always roll out slow. And what I mean by that is like when they first come out, they're not at their full potential. They only get at their full potential as time goes on. And I guess you can probably say that about any game nowadays because lots of video game developers and publishers, they rely heavily on updates to finish their game or to optimize their game, right? Optimization of Starfield. That fucked me up when Todd Howard said that. Oh, our game's already optimized. You just need to upgrade your PC. I was like, holy shit. Like, I've never heard so much bullshit in one sentence from a video game company in so long. And it sucks that it's coming from Todd Howard, but I get it. They got shareholders. They can't sit there and admit that they're, oh yeah, we have to rely heavily on, an upscaling technique like FSR or DLSS in order for our game to run just basically. Excuse me. I get what he did that from a business standpoint. It was a lie and it wasn't cool, but I get it. Whatever. Moving on. Starfield, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. As soon as I'm done recording this incoherent ramble, I don't even know what this video is about, dude. I don't even know how to fucking title this. I guess just write Danny's bitching. I don't know. But point is, playing Starfield, all in all, I like it a lot. And considering that Bethesda's games are a slow start, eventually the updates make the game even better in the future. Considering that it's still like, still extremely new. I don't think there's been one major update for it yet. There has been an update, but it's nothing major. Considering all things considered, it's running pretty great. It's not optimized for shit. I can tell you that because my PC definitely meets all the requirements and then some. Damn, I almost shut my shit off just touching it. It sucks that my PC has all the hardware to run it and it's far above its recommended settings, and it can't. That goes to show you that it's not me. It's not my hardware. It's the optimization of the game. So I know it's that. But put that aside, the entire game it's pretty awesome so far. It's a great game. Of course, I have my complaints. One of the biggest ones would be probably, I'm not sure if a lot of people they claim loading screens, and this is what I think. One of the biggest issues so far that people have with Starfield is that it has too many loading screens. There's too much loading. I don't understand this because I'm assuming that this complaint is coming from the new school players, because the old school players who have played Bethesda games realize that everywhere you go, there's a loading screen. Right? There's always loading screens in Skyrim. There's always loading screens in Morrowind. There's always loading screens in Oblivion. There's loading screens in Fallout. Of course, like, this is a huge world, and the thing is, the loading screens are so fast. And in like 3 seconds, you're at where you have to be. Like that's impressive. So I will to say, like in under 5 seconds, I have not seen anything stay loading for more than 5 seconds in my experience. That's great. That's nothing. You know what I mean? But people still complain about that. And once again, I think that's coming from the new school players. That's just my opinion. I don't know for sure. So that doesn't bother me. I've been playing this game for a while now. I want to say that I'm close. And I'm not even gonna. I want to say that I'm approaching 100 hours playing Starfield, and the loading is the least of my concern. What is my concern is something that probably isn't discussed as much, and I believe that just like earlier, I was saying that video games are subject. They're subject to to current political climate. Starfield is no exception. We have this, dare I say it, woke culture. What's woke? Woke. If you were to ask me what's the definition of woke, I'd be like, a woke person is an extremist. A woke person is someone who has the right intention, their heart's in the right place, at least some of them, but they're going too far and beyond. Like they're going way farther than they're supposed to. They're pushing it, like they're going, okay, there has to be a limit. We have to cut it off here without getting too specific, because I don't want to start some sort of a war. Everyone's pretty sensitive nowadays. But what I am saying is that with this political climate, I believe that this game has been pussified. There's no other way to put it. Like, it's very politically correct. Starfield is very sanitized. You can't blow people's heads off or limbs like you can in Fallout or anything like that. It's very. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Oblivion. Oblivion was an older title. I don't remember you can dismember anybody in Oblivion. I know in Skyrim you can. If I'm not, I think you can behead people with certain finishing moves, like certain kill moves. I think you can do like a spin attack and chop someone's head off, which is always fun to do. But I do believe this game has been very sanitized. It's been, and without getting into details, you can tell the inclusion thing that lots of woke people like to cite. Oh, inclusion, inclusion, inclusion. Like, I see that a lot in this game. I'm not gonna get into specifics, but that's what I see when I play Fallout, and that's my. It's a game of its time. It's a game that when this whole woke movement starts to die off, because nothing can run at a fever pitch forever, right? When this starts to die off, we're going to look back at Starfield as well as other games that came around this time and go like, damn, this was during the time where outrage was like a big thing. Remember that? This was during a time where this inclusion narrative, was being, you know, pushed was in the forefront of everything. So I'm being vague. I don't like being vague. I wish I could get into more specifics, but I'm not. But like I said, I'm not here to fight with motherfuckers. I'm not here to argue with people. I'm just here to talk about video games and be a dork on a Sunday afternoon. So yeah, this one's gonna be a hard one to label because I have no idea. I've got some notes here, and it went from Bethesda to censorship. But I will say that I still love Bethesda, even though I would say they had a miss with Redfall. At least according to the general consensus, is that Redfall was a miss. I'll be the judge of that because I want to play and I want to see if it was as bad as people say it is. But Starfield was definitely not a miss. Starfield is definitely a great game. You anyway, it's already a good game now, and it's going to be an even better game because they said it themselves. This is a game that they're going to support for years to come, and I believe it because this game is massive, and there's room for all sorts of more. You can add way more mechanics to this game. I can't wait to see the mods, the creative public with the crazy mods that they're going to make. They're going to be fire. I mean, I'm still a fan. I don't care what anyone says. After Oblivion, I believe I tell this to everyone. Anyone can make an open world game, but just Bethesda has this magic. I can't explain it. It's just they make exploration just no one does exploration like Bethesda. It just feels so right, just traveling the worlds and talking to NPCs, and it just I don't know, they just nailed it. And I've been chasing the dragon ever since. I've tried playing other open world games, a lot of Ubisoft stuff. I know. And what else? Like Dragon Age Inquisition, which I fucking enjoyed, but it didn't hit that mark for me, and like I've been chasing the dragon ever since. The closest game that I can say, the two closest games that I've played in recent history that I can say come close to capturing the magic that Bethesda has enchanted me with Oblivion would be game one, which is Red Dead Redemption 2, and game two, which would be Cyberpunk 2077. Those two worlds, as complete opposites that they may be when you compare both of them, one it's in the Wild West, the other is in the distant future. They created CD Projekt Red and Rockstar created these worlds where it's just they nailed it. They fucking nailed it. It felt. I mean, like you can say that Cyberpunk's Neon City was a little flat. The NPCs were a little flat. There wasn't a lot to do. Sure, but just traveling that world just felt great. It was a huge world and lots of side quests, and you could just get out the car and start shooting motherfuckers. Not innocent people. I mean, you can't do that, but I meant like gangs just hanging around. It's like, okay, look, free gear. That's how I look at gangs. At least I go, oh, that's free gear. That's walking, talking gear. Shut up, my loot's not supposed to talk, and then you just murder them. And then you have Red Dead Redemption, which is I always tell people Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a video game. That's a fucking experience. It's an experience. Like, if you haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2, you got to stop what you're doing and you got to cut off all distractions, dim the lights, put your headset on, and just jump into this world, man. It's a goddamn beautiful experience. That's what that game is. Other than that, I played a lot of other games that I definitely enjoyed. I played Valhalla. I played, the Far Cry series. I played uh, man, I can go on, and nothing compares to just Bethesda's magic of exploration. They got that. Other games may have better combat. Other games may have better mechanics, but when it comes to exploration, that's just something that Bethesda has perfected, in my opinion. I do hope that there's always going to be trials and tribulations that video game developers and publishers are going to go through, especially concerning the political climate. And I just hope that things get better, and they will get better. I have faith. Call me an optimist. Label me whatever you may like, but I get it. You've got people that you answer to. Your boss. You have bosses, and so far, I'm happy to report that for the most part, the current political climate has been kept away from video games. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean like they're not video games aren't exempt to the current political climate. They Starfield, Bethesda, all these other video game companies, they have to answer to whatever's going on. But I meant like inside of the video game. You know what I mean? Like the actual characters. I've played some games. Like I played Far Cry 6 and like Fallout 76 where they had some of the current political shit in the game, and I'm like, come on, man, you got to leave this out of the games. You got to leave this out of the games. But I understand where we're going for. I mean, I understand what's happening. At least I can say that. It's easy for me to just be in an uproar and just demand that they not have this, not have that. I could be on the forums or on the social media sites just cursing up a storm, but I'm not gonna do that. That's not gonna cause anything but just mental anguish to me. Long story short, rooting for Bethesda. I think they're still going very strong, and Starfield. It's started off good already, and I know it's going to be even greater as time goes on, you know. So that's that. Thanks for listening to me ramble. See you guys next time.